Because many of you are going to think about fitness as one of your ideas of starting for a plan of action. Thought it would be important to just touch on some of the basics of fitness. You may be involved in one of the PEGN classes, and that will go in that class. You should discuss some of the more specific components. I'll just touch over some of the benefits and the components. So we have physical fitness, which means that you are able to do your daily activities. We have skill-related fitness, which is associated with being able to perform a sport or be able to go outside, play basketball, play soccer. And health-related fitness, which means that you can live with great vigor. Physical activity means moving. Exercise is structured. So if you're in a physical activity class like wall climbing, group exercise, water exercise, or even yoga, that would be considered exercise. We know that physical activity and exercise are both good because there are physical benefits, there are benefits for our bones, our muscles, our brain, our emotional and our psychological ability to respond and manage our emotions, anxiety, relieve stress, and also helps with delaying or managing disease through endocrine mechanisms or helping with diabetes, for example. So we have here just some organs that are impacted, and really all of the major organs of your body are impacted: your liver, your thyroid, your lungs, your heart, your bones, your muscles, uh, all are your brain. They're all impacted positively with regular exercise and physical activity. We have some guidelines that have been identified. The Department of Health and Human Services has identified the physical activity guidelines, and it's pretty consistent through most organizations. We are focusing on moderate activity, which gets your breathing rate up. You can still talk for about 150 minutes per week, and it just needs to be accumulated. Now we're looking at 2 hours and 30 minutes sprinkled out throughout the week. Or if you're exercising more intensely, 75 minutes. So if you are playing rugby, for example, that's more intense. If you're going for a walk, that would be more moderate level activity. And it's good to have kind of a combination of both, to be honest. The focus is also on sitting less throughout the day, so getting up and moving throughout the day, and also adding some muscle strengthening exercises a couple days a week. The organization that I'm associated with is the American College of Sports Medicine, and we have identified 3 to 5 days per week of at least 30 to 60 minutes, which is the equivalent of that 150 minutes of moderate exercise, or 20 to 60 vigorous minutes of exercise 3 or more days a week. So it's spread out through the week. So depending on which organization that you look at, it's pretty consistent. Now, if you're looking at losing weight, then those numbers have to be increased. And if you're interested, you can find a number of tables that gives you an idea about what does it mean to be light. If you are doing something light, you have a very small increase in your breathing rate and in your heart rate. If you have moderate, you have an increase in your breathing rate and your heart rate, but you can often still speak in sentences. When you get into vigorous intensity, your breathing rate is much higher. And your ability to speak is in shortened sentences. And if it's really vigorous, you can't speak. You're just kind of blurting out words. So your ability to speak, or the talk test, is often used. And we can also have a sense of how we feel, which is called the ratings of perceived exertion, which your instructor might give you some information about that as well. They also might give you the heart rate method of determining the level of exercise intensity. So we have a number of components that we're looking at for our health-related fitness, which we are most general population is going to be interested with our health. And our health-related fitness is going to be our heart and lungs, our cardiorespiratory fitness, our musculoskeletal, our muscles and our bones. So that's muscular strength, ability to lift a weight, muscular endurance, the ability to hold a weight or lift a weight multiple times, and flexibility, the ability to move through a full range of motion, and body composition. And to be able to get better, we need to do a little bit more or overload. If we do too little, our fitness won't improve. If we do too much, then we could potentially become ill or have an injury. And what we do know now is the significant impact of rest. It's not more, more, more. One of the most important things when you're trying to improve in your fitness is to make sure you give your body enough sleep, enough rest, and fuel it properly to be able to improve in those components. We make our exercise program by how many days per week, which is frequency, how intense it is, which we can do by our breathing rate or our heart rate or the weight that you're lifting, time, how long your session is, and the type of exercise that you do, running, jogging, rowing, lifting, type of exercise. So frequency, intensity, type, and time, that's your fit components. Why do we want to improve our cardiorespiratory fitness? Well, it sure makes it easier to walk up and down the hills on campus. We know that we are able to breathe less heavily when we walk up the hill. Our ability to do activities is easier. Our heart works more efficiently. Our ability to move oxygen and deliver fuel to our muscles improves. We have greater capacity to exercise at a higher intensity. So our cardiorespiratory training, like running, jogging, more continuous activity, rowing, those are going to improve the strength of our heart and lungs and also decrease our risk for those chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. We want to do that at least 3 times a week, and we use our heart rate to determine our intensity, breathing test, whether we can kind of talk in short little spurts for moderate intensity, or we can use the ratings of perceived exertion, and you can ask about that. If you'd like to come and talk to me about that, I'm happy to go into more detail. 15 to 60 minutes, we can shoot for a goal, but if you only have 10 minutes, that's great. If you start with 10 minutes between a break, totally fine. If you accumulate, that's all well and good. All right, so instead of doing none, doing 10 is great. So we have start continuous and also some stop and go activities, basketball, soccer, and tennis, depending what position you play, whether it's singles or doubles. There is a need and a requirement for aerobic capacity to perform those team sports as well. I guess we can go on. There's progression. You can do HIIT training, high intensity, and that's when you do a short burst of really high all-out exercise, followed by a short or a specific time of recovery or lower intensity exercise where you're moving, and you alternate that high and low intensity. That gives that all of those systems a real good push for adaptation. It's important to always start slowly with any exercise program, especially with your cardiorespiratory training. If you want to start a jogging program, for example, and you haven't been jogging, we want to start with maybe walking and jogging alternating. Don't expect that you can all of a sudden start jogging 2 miles 4 days a week. We're going to start with where you are and do a little bit more than what you currently can do and gradually build that up until you get to a goal of 3 times 30 minutes a week, for example. The key is to find something that you enjoy. There's nothing magical about any one particular activity. Muscular strength and muscular endurance, I already gave you what that is. Strength is ability to lift a force. So you're thinking about powerlifting. They have tremendous amount of maximal strength. You know, they can lift a large amount of weight. And muscular endurance is being able to hold something or lift something repeatedly. How do you build muscular strength and endurance? Well, you do them both at the same time, and you do that through strength training. So we have beginning and intermediate strength training, and with that, you learn how to perform the movements properly, safely, and also in intermediate, you learn how to build a different strength programs and learn how to build a longer term program. So here, remember, we have frequency, intensity, type, and time that goes along with your strength training program as well. We'll look at those a little bit more specifically later. There is a difference in muscle development between men and women because men have more testosterone, so women cannot build as much muscle as men. But there are women that have a higher amount of naturally producing testosterone. So we're not all exactly alike. So keep in mind that there are varying amounts of testosterone levels in both males and in men and women. And so what we have naturally could lend a person to be able to build a little bit more muscle in a woman. So bodybuilders, for example, might be drawn to be doing bodybuilding because they have perhaps a little bit more testosterone and they see more muscle growth, just because naturally they tend to have a higher amount. Uh, so we have muscle mass, which is going to be primarily the way, or hypertrophy, what we are going to see as a result of our strength training. There are other benefits or types of strength training. Muscle power is being able to move something, amount of a weight very quickly. So that would be a power lifter. You'll see like Olympic lifts have a lot of power. They lift a heavy amount of weight quickly, clean and jerk, for example. Plyometrics is when you jump, you do a shortened muscle, which lends itself, it uh, allows the muscle to have a greater force production, and that can build muscle strength. Really great for jumping activities. And then, for instance, core strength training, Pilates, some function could be functional training, stability balls. That is generally speaking really good for everyone. It's important to work both sides of your body and to work your body completely. If we are sitting all the time, we tend to have the front or the anterior chain become more dominant. That's where we see a lot of slouching forward. So that's a sedentary lifestyle. Makes your anterior muscles in the front dominant. That's where you get more contraction in the front. And then you're more likely to have injury. It's important to breathe. Breathing is going to be one of the key components of weight training and all exercise because oxygen is the key for energy production. Flexibility is another component of our health-related fitness. I'll go over a little bit more of that in the next module, I do believe. And flexibility is very important. It's one of the key components that you should go over in your classes because that is important for really allowing being able to move more fluidly and to decrease your risk of injury, but too much flexibility is not good either. But we tend to lose our flexibility as we age, and there is a gender difference. If you asked any male to touch his toes, he'll probably not want to do it, where women tend to have an easier time being able to do it. So there is a little bit of a difference, but that doesn't mean that flexibility can't be improved or altered. How we stretch, number of different ways of stretching. I want to ask you a question about that, but in this module, but there are different ways of stretching. We'll look at stretching programs later. So neuromuscular fitness has to do with functional fitness, agility and balance, and ability to sense, coordination, being able to know how to move and how to catch a ball, how to hit a tennis racket, how to hit the ball with a tennis racket, how to move across the court. You know, if you've ever seen someone who's an amazing person on the football field or running back who can just cut and move, that is agility. And that's really a keen neuromuscular fitness. We use kettlebells, free weights. There's functional fitness training. CrossFit uses those skills and develops neuromotor. I said neuromuscular, neuromotor fitness. And balance. This tends to be more important as we age, but balance is important in many cases. Balance can be developed a number of ways. It can be done through Tai Chi. If you're taking yoga, balance is a component in yoga. It does emphasize slow breathing, ability to have controlled movement, and also a really strong core and a calm mind and a presence of mind of staying uh, really anchored. Body composition is part of health related fitness, and that is working to improve or reach a desired percentage of body fat. And one of the best ways of improving body composition is a combination of cardiovascular exercise and weight training. When we weight train, we build our muscle, and our muscle is more energetically, metabolically active, and we burn more calories. Muscular people have a bigger metabolic fire, fuel oven. So the more we have, the higher our metabolism is. So resistance training, weight training is really great for improving body composition, but also cardiovascular is also important because we need it for the health of our heart and lungs, and it also is important for our mental state. But both of them together are great for improving body composition. Cross training helps us to be able to do different things, much more enjoyable when we don't do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. So there are some guidelines in terms of what type of recommendations we need for our health related components. Cardiovascular, about 150 minutes of moderate, about 75 minutes of vigorous, or a combination of both. Muscle strengthening activities, 8 to 10 exercises, 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, a couple days a week, 2 or more. Flexibility, major muscles, 2 to 3 days per week. Hold the stretches, 30 seconds. Nobody really knows how long to hold stretches, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We generally say accumulate to 60 seconds, but there's really no definitive answer in terms of what's best. I think that 30 seconds is a good step. If you hold it longer, there's nothing wrong with that. It does help short term. Long term, I'm not so sure. And weight management is primarily the combination of the the muscle strengthening activity and the aerobic activity. The importance of a warm up and cool down is to allow your body to get acclimated, and really your muscles have some need for temperature for the blood flow to go to the muscles, for the components of the muscles to basically heat up and be able to become more flexible, more pliable. And so starting your activity at a lower intensity feels better and also eases your body into that exercise. You're less likely to get injured, especially with weight training. Warm-up sets are especially important if you're trying to lift a heavy weight. And cool down is important because it allows the blood flow to return back to the core of your body, because it generally goes out to your exercise muscles. The majority of your blood goes out to the exercise muscles, and so it returns back to the core of your body, and your blood flow maintains or returns, and you will become able to stay upright and less likely to get important to sleep. If we can sleep at least 8 hours a night, it's really important for recovery for your muscles. If you ask athletes, they'll tell you how important, professional athletes, how important their sleep is. The sleep is one of the key components, not just the training, not just the nutrition, but sleep and recovery also critical for their ability. If you are an individual that has a disability, it's still important to be active. There are many, many ways to be active with a disability, even if you have there, even if you have, let's see here, if you look at the Paralympics, tremendous ways of being able to still maintain activity, and the importance is to either offset the decline in the fitness levels and to decrease the sedentary living as much as possible. So if we look at being committed to change, we want to make sure that we set goals that are achievable and sustainable. We tend to think that we don't have time for exercise, but it's a matter of making time for exercise. Is there a way that we can break it up into chunks? Is there a way that we can do it maybe earlier in the day? Is there a way that we can squeeze it in the middle of the day? Is there a way that we can schedule it into the day? So right now I have I'm about 10 minutes away from when I've scheduled it in for myself. So I have to schedule it in, otherwise it doesn't get done. So it's important to make it part of your day-to-day life, and if it's important to you, which I hope that you see that it is. And having support or a buddy or a target or some motivation and something that's fun for you is going to be really significant to help you do it. So keep in mind, how can you become a little bit more active? What's going to be fun? How can we be more socially engaged through just fun activities, organized activities, through your classes, any way that through moderate or even vigorous activity. I hope you find something that you enjoy.